Welcome to episode 1 of On the Microphone, where we get to know the voices that you hear at arenas, gymnasiums, and stadiums for sporting events and other special events across the world. Today's first guest is the man in the yellow hat, Charles Head. He is the NASCAR announcer and has been for 50 years. I hope you enjoy the show. Charles, thank you for taking the time today to be with us and talk with myself. Welcome and introduce yourself, please.
Well, thank you, JT. I'm Charles Head. I am 69 years old, and I have been announcing for 50 years now. Actually, kind of got started in the second grade. I was the person they put out front to introduce everybody to our little program. And I don't know why the teachers thought that I was the front man, but anyway, it worked out that way. And so I have kind of been doing this behind the mic forever. And what got me into announcing full time was really by accident. When I was a 10th grader in high school, back in those days, everybody read a paragraph around the room. I don't know if you do that anymore or not, but we all read a paragraph around the room. And my English teacher, when I got done reading, said, "You read well, you should be on radio." Well, I did what my teacher said. I went home that afternoon and I called the local radio station and I said, "My teacher says I need to be on radio." And they said, "You're in luck. We got a guy who just went to college. We have a slot open. Can you start tomorrow afternoon?" So I started the next day with a little rock and roll show called Teen Time. My first song out was a Led Zeppelin song back in the day. And that was in 1970. I was 16 years old. And I didn't realize at the time that I was a popular kid. I mean, I just thought I was awkward and, just kind of behind the scenes. But, being on radio when you're 16 years old and having your own rock and roll show, you're kind of popular. And I didn't realize it till many years later that I was a popular kid in school until people told me that, really. But anyway, radio continued for me. I got the radio bug bad. And I wanted to be in radio full time. I went to engineering school, got my first class license. I became a chief engineer of radio stations, still on the air doing DJ work. And in 1973, now let me couch this by saying I've always been a race fan. So I was at the racetrack. My parents said I was at the racetrack when I was 1 year old. I don't remember it, but my daddy was a big race fan. So I grew up in the racing world. Well, I also had the racing bug in addition to the announcing bug. So in 1972, I built a race car, a 55 Chevrolet, started racing it at the local dirt track. And about 4 races in, we're into the 73 season at that point. About 4 races in, the announcer, whom I worked with at the radio station, his baby was involved in an accident and subsequently died, and he had to take several weeks off. And they asked me, would I step out of the race car and announce, because they knew I worked in radio. And I said, sure. And they said, just announce until he comes back. And I said, okay. So 50 years later, I'm still announcing he never came back. So that has worked out well. And that's what got me into racing. Now, furthering that, I was noticed by NASCAR. I went from track to track to track and elevated up into various tracks. I got noticed by NASCAR. And in 1995, NASCAR called and wanted me to be a NASCAR announcer. So I started announcing for NASCAR in 95 and worked, 14, 15 years for NASCAR. And they asked me to come back this last year, so I guess I'm having a resurgence in NASCAR once again. But it has just been a tremendous opportunity. Seen so many great people and so many fun people. And announcers will appreciate this. This may not be for a safe for workplace necessarily, but it's not bad. But anyway, one thing that I did that I started doing when I was in high school, and the kids in the school would just laugh and laugh, and the teachers never had any idea why. When I would set up the equipment on stage in front of a group, we've all done this. We go out and say, testing, 1, 2, testing, 1, 2, or check, or whatever. Well, I've always gone out and I say, testes, 1, 2, testes, 1, 2. As clear as a bell, I say testes. And that's just my personal edification. I just enjoy doing that. Nobody ever catches it. It's just fun for me to get away with it and say testes. And like I said, the kids in school just laughed themselves to death, and the teachers never had any idea what I was saying. So anyway, that's just a little fun thing that I did for my own personal fun.
Nice. Yeah, you got to put your own spin on it, of course, and you've got to have fun with it. Let's get into 10 questions to better get to know you. First, how difficult is it to hear an announcement being a spectator at an auto race?
I How difficult is it? Oh, you mean for the crowd to hear? Oh, it's very
Yes.
difficult. Many times, when I first started, I just put the microphone down during a race because there's nobody to hear. Now later, we're starting to do races on YouTube. We're starting to have people streaming races, so I have to announce it as if I were doing a radio broadcast and talk constantly throughout. And I've had some tracks where I worked that the ladies in the office who were sitting behind me they couldn't see the racetrack, so they wanted me to announce the race as if I were on radio and do it fully, whether the fans could hear it or not. So it is awfully difficult to hear anything at a racetrack unless you've got on headsets. Now, most racetracks now offer low power FM radios so that you can bring your personal listening device, or you can sit in your car on trackside or whatever and pick it up on your FM radio. And so for that reason, I announce the race whether anybody can hear it or not, just like I'm doing it for someone who's sitting at home and can't see it.
Okay. Here are a couple of rapid fire questions for you. Indy or Daytona, which one is your preference?
Daytona, just because I'm a stock car guy, I have done several Indy Racing League shows. Got to meet my personal idol, AJ Foyt, in Victory Lane whenever his driver won an Indy car race. But anyway, I'm a Daytona kind of guy. I love Daytona International Speedway.
Okay. And we all have something that keeps us going because sometimes you can be on that microphone for a long time. So, what keeps you going? Is it coffee? Is it tea? Is it a soda pop? Is it energy drink? What keeps you going?
Dill pickles. I love dill pickles, and I eat them often. And something about that dill pickle juice just helps the voice. And if you've got any phlegm in there, it cleans it out, and it kind of lubricates it as well. So dill pickles are my go-to. Now I will drink water on occasion. Used to I drank Diet Coke all the time. If I have a real problem, one of the NASCAR races I did, I had done a Thursday night radio show in a smoky bar. This is before they eliminated smoking. And my voice had gotten very raspy. Well, I had to do a truck race on Friday. I had to do an Xfinity race on Saturday. And then for the Cup race on Sunday, when I was going to be on TV and doing the big thing, my voice was terrible. So I just pumped in the coffee and I used throat coat. Throat coat is a great little herbal tea that works very well. So I use that as well. So sometimes you have to go for those things that you normally wouldn't. But on a regular basis, I drink water until about 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night, and then I start on the coffee after that point.
So, behind you there, you can see the yellow hat. And explain a little bit about the yellow hat and its significance to you.
Well, the yellow hat started as a NASCAR deal. When I was announcing for NASCAR, when they were in the tower, they would try to spot me to see who I was with to know who to go down to me. So I started wearing bright colors, something of bright color, and the yellow hat got to be the normal thing. They could spot that anywhere. And they could say, "Oh, Charles is down with Rusty Wallace. Let's run down to Charles, see what he's got." So it was a way for them to spot me at big distances. Now we fast forward into a couple of years back. I have started on this tremendous weight loss program. I've lost 120 pounds in 9 months, and I'm actually a health coach now. So that that has helped things. I've got 500 and something clients, and I just melted away. People saw me melt away at the racetracks, and my wife said, "You need to revive the yellow hat," because people were always saying, "We need to talk to the guy that's losing weight. Where is he?" Well, when I started wearing the yellow hat again, then people would say, "Hey, see the cat in the yellow hat." So I have yellowhatdude.com. I have catintheyellowhat.com. And I have the yellow hat that I wear. I have a yellow top hat that I wear with my formal attire. And I've got various hiking hats and other things. This kind of is my 30th anniversary from my radio show. I do a racing radio show, have for 30 years, 33 years now. And that's my yellow hat from my 30th anniversary show that I did. So that's been another big plus for me. I'm still involved in radio. I will always be involved in radio because it has been so good to me over the years. I quit full time in 1977, a long time ago. My father died very young. He had a cabinet shop, and he had several orders for cabinetry and so forth. So I had to quit radio and start his cabinet shop and finish those orders up. So I have become a craftsman. I do high-end kitchens and those kinds of things, but I'm still involved in radio enough to be on the air once or twice a week.
So you are a jack of all trades for sure, my friend. Best race car driver, in your opinion, that you have seen drive?
I have to break that down into different age groups, I guess. Richard Petty obviously was the king with 200 victories. Dale Earnhardt in his day was by far the best of his era. Jeff Gordon, I think, surpasses so many. And I will have to give you this little note. I was announcing the race, first time that Jeff Gordon ever passed Dale Earnhardt for a lead in a race. And I was announcing, and the phone rang in the tower. And I guess I got a little too excited. And on the other end was the president of NASCAR, and he said, "Boy, we don't scream in NASCAR." And I said, "Yes, sir," and hung up the phone. So I have taught all the drivers from now on, be a little bit more conservative with your elevation of your voice, even though something may really be an exciting situation. Try to timber it just a little bit and bring it down, or temper it just a little bit and bring it down.
What is the shortest race that you have ever called distance wise?
Well, that would have been a horse race. And here's a story about that. We were at a dirt racetrack with cars, and the owners of the track decided they wanted to have a horse race on a Sunday afternoon. So they brought in 5 or 6 horses, and those horses ran one lap. And this is a funny story because prior to that, here's the story. The horse came around, and I'm interviewing the rider of the horse in Victory Lane, or I guess in Victory Lane on the front straightaway. And while I'm interviewing him, the horse starts peeing. And it's very obvious because we're standing beside the horse, and right there beside us, the horse just starts peeing right there in Victory Lane. So I made some comment about, and I'm having to go back about 30 years. So let me revise that just a little bit. Just prior to the horse race, we had an event where a car overheated, and the car overheated. So I'm in Victory Lane talking to the driver, congratulating him, and the car is just spewing water all over us, and it's splattering everywhere because it's overheating. And so then we have the horse race, and I'm standing there, and all of a sudden the horse starts peeing, and I make the statement, "I guess the horse is overheating." So that was the story on that race. That's where that came from. But anyway, to answer your question, that's the shortest race ever. I've had a couple of races where rain came in the very beginning. I mean, we're trying to start the race. They're going down into turn one. All of a sudden, the rains come down, and everybody on a slick track spins out, and they have to call the race for the rest of the night. So I don't know if you call that a race or not, but that's the shortest thing I've ever done, is not even complete one lap, and you've got a situation where you have to end the night.
Let's do the flip side of that. What's the longest race you have ever called distance wise?
Distance wise would be some of the 500 milers with Atlanta Motor Speedway and some of the NASCAR events that I've done. I've never done the Coke 600, but I have done the 500 milers.
And are you a fan of the dirt tracks in NASCAR, such as what they've done in Bristol?
Absolutely. I think it's a great thing to see that happen. I think you're seeing drivers who never had any dirt experience whatsoever, like Joey Logano, who come in and win that race and show what they can do. Others that have tons of dirt track experience, like Kyle Larson, sometimes seem to struggle on Bristol. It's been a great time to see NASCAR go back to their roots and bring that back. And just North Wilkesboro last week, when North Wilkesboro came back, thought that track was never going to come back again. Not a dirt track, but it is a track that is full of NASCAR lore, and I'm glad to see it back on the schedule again.
Now, you mentioned a little bit about your weight loss. Tell us just a little bit more about that journey. Give us just a little bit more information, because you've had a lot of success with that.
Well, it's a funny thing because my wife was on Facebook talking with somebody about something, and this lady made a comment, and she said, "I'm a health coach." And Debbie said, "What does that mean?" And she said, "Well, I have people lose weight." And Debbie said, "Well, I'd be interested in that. We would like to do that." So she came to me and told me, I've got a lady calling about a weight loss program. And I said, no way, no way. We've done Weight Watchers, we've done keto, we've done Atkins, we've done South Beach, we've done them all. We'd lose 20, we'd gain 25. I said, I'm not putting a dime into anything like this. But you've said you'd talk to her, so I'll listen in. So I sat there and I had my arms like this. I mean, I'm the curmudgeon of all times listening to this, saying, no way is this going to happen. And she said the magic word somewhere in there. She said, and Charles, you could make money doing this. And boy, my ears perked up. I thought, I got a following of people. I can make some money doing this. And I signed up as a health coach the next day. I wanted to get involved in selling. And so far, I've topped the company. I've sold more than anybody in the history of the company. It has just been a phenomenal thing, making money. We've made $250,000 in 2 years doing this, just with me health coaching. It has been the most phenomenal thing ever. If you have an entrepreneurial spirit, man, this is the thing to get involved in. It has just been fantastic. So, and it's a situation where you buy your food from our company. They ship it to you out of Baltimore, Maryland. You eat that food one meal a day. You fix your own lean and green meal. We guide you how to do that. And then you eat the food, drink the water, and lose the weight. That's all I can say. It's so simple. And I personally coach 500 clients.
Wow. I don't know when you sleep.
Well, I'm involved in a lot of things. I'm involved in music. I'm heavily involved in church. Got a lot of things going on. But, I've always believed when people come to me and say, oh, I'm just too busy to do anything, you're exactly who I want. I want busy people. If you got time on your hands, I feel like you're lazy. I don't want people to have time on their hands.
That's a good perspective. Here's the last question. What has kept you coming back to the microphone for 50 years?
I tried to retire last year. I had a big retirement deal. I told every track I was going to retire. I wouldn't be back. They had big ceremonies and congratulated me. And somebody asked me the other day, they said, how's retirement going? And I said, not too well. I've already announced 6 races this year, and I've got several more on the schedule. So I just can't put the microphone down. And, honestly, it's not the action on the track. It's 2 things. It's the fans. It's the people that I get to see. Well, 3 things. It's the race drivers who I have a great rapport with, and it's the people in the tower that are around me when I'm announcing. Those 3 groups of people are just so fundamental to my being. I just can't seem to let go of them. Those relationships are what it's all about. The relationships are key.
Well, Charles, I certainly appreciate your time. We want to close with giving you the microphone in that sense, giving you the time to shine and spotlight anything of significance that you would like to talk about.
Well, I am a Christian, and I believe that if you don't know Jesus Christ as your Savior, you need to. I'm a firm believer in that. Secondly, I'm very happily married. My wife is a great supporter, and honestly, if it's not for the support of your spouse and your family, this is not a business for you to be in, because it just dictates that you're going to be gone nights and weekends and holidays and those kinds of things. And if your family is not behind you and not only supporting you, but in some ways pushing you, that's what it takes. And so never forget to thank those family members. That my wife's been a racing widow for 37 years now, that she's been without me on Friday and Saturday nights and many Sunday afternoons. And so they have to put up with a lot too. So remember to thank them for their support of you. I will have to tell you this quick story. I was once banned from a racetrack for life for fighting. I was a teenager. This was in 1972, and it was at Hartwell Speedway, about 40 miles from here. I actually wasn't the one fighting, but I was with a group, with a crew, and there were rifles and tire tools involved. My gosh, if you pulled out a rifle now, you'd get thrown in jail at a racetrack, but a little different times back then. It never got shot. It was just brandished. And so anyway, the sheriff came and he loaded us up and he banned us from that racetrack for life. I was banned for life. 20 years later, the owner of the track calls me and he says, I want you to come announce the race for me. And I said, Donald, I can't do it. I've been banned for life. He said, oh, forget that. Come on down here. So 20 years later, I was able to go back to that track and start announcing again. But we all have our past, and we all have our 70s. No matter what decade it is, we all have those decades somewhere where we're a little dumber and a little younger, and wish we'd done things a little differently or hung out with a different group of people. Um, let's see. Anything else that I want to mention? Oh, a big thing. I was inducted into the Georgia Racing Hall of Fame in 2015, first announcer to ever be in the Hall of Fame, and that was kind of a nice thing. Another area I've been writing. They came to me from the local newspaper and said, we would like to have an article on racing. Do you know anybody that can write one? I said, no, but I'll try to find somebody because I think it'd be good to have that. And they finally said, listen, can you just write until you find the right person? I said, sure, I'll start writing until I find the right person. Well, for 23 years, I wrote that newspaper article on local racing in the paper as well. So I've kind of honed my writing skills there also. So it's just been so many different things that I've had a pleasure to be involved with. And we're a group of announcers. And I want to mention my fellow announcer, that's the announcer of the Atlanta Braves. I'm looking forward on June 10th. I sing with a group, Toccoa Falls Men's Choir. It's college, and I've been singing with them for 20 some odd years. And at least once a year, we do the Atlanta Braves game. So on June 10th, we're going to be at the Atlanta Braves doing that game. We got to do a playoff game for Atlanta last year and do the national anthem. So I'm coming to see you in the booth. I look forward to coming to seeing you, and I know he's a member of this group. I see his posts often, so I hope to get to see you on June 10th on that Saturday afternoon.
Well, Charles, thank you for your time and your expertise. God bless you, and thank you so much again.
Thanks, JT. You have done a wonderful job putting this group together. It's so beneficial, and I've just enjoyed the relationships that I've had with so many people. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and share the content. Also, consider joining the Public Address Announcer Facebook group so you can connect with others who are on the microphone.